Good day, everyone, and welcome to The Journey. I am Reverend Bobby, and today on the switcheroo that you'll see in a little bit, we have Jaretha Lawson. How are you doing today, Jaretha?
I am very well, Reverend Bobby. I'm always better when I see you and we get to talk.
Oh, that girl talks that stuff, don't she, ladies and gentlemen? Well, while Jaretha is being herself and I'm being myself, listen, you be yourself and subscribe to the channel. Gospel of Robert, capital GOSPELOF, capital ROBERT, no spaces. And you got to put the @ sign in front. It'll lead you to the page, and then you can subscribe. So, today, Jaretha is going to be searching in my heart and my mind by talking with me and allowing you guys to get to know me a little bit better. So right here and right now, hey, the journey is on Jaretha. She is the guide on our journey today. Take it away, baby.
All right. Well, thank you, Reverend Bobby.
You're
always
welcome.
so gracious and generous with your compliments and everything. So I want to start there. I have been thinking about this interview, and I said, what is the best way and the simplest way to get to know Reverend Bobby? And I decided, well, how about asking Reverend Bobby to share his life's timeline?
My life.
From childbirth and childhood. That's always so amazing to me because I really believe that childhood, it kind of gives clues as to who you're going to be.
Well,
so let's just kind of dwell into that and see if there are some parallels that happen in your life.
Well, we can start when I was born. We were living in Gary with my, grandma and grandpa, and
Okay.
So I was born out there. Daddy was in the city working here. He was, I think, practice teaching then, not sure. But anyway, we came in, moved on 51st Wabash, was there for a minute. 1958, Daddy and them bought the house. And then we lived on 95th Street in Normal on the second floor of the house, and the landlords was like my auntie and uncle. I used to go down there at 2 or 3 years old and eat her red beans and rice that was flame hot, but I'd have a big old jug of water there so I could eat them red beans and rice.
And let me stop you there. So
yes.
Are you telling us that you lived during the time when it took a village to raise a child?
Oh, child took a village to raise a child. They disciplined us. Everybody had time. They had the right. They had the right. And you was in trouble all the way home when you was acting a fool. Then you got to big trouble when you got home. And they had the right. That's the way we grew up because it was a new neighborhood. It was White Flight, 1958. There wasn't many houses out there. We played on the block. We had a baseball diamond down the street in the vacant lot. Our parents knew where we was. And when they started to build the new houses, of course, we played in the new houses. And in the neighborhood, it was my crew, the other crew down the other end. We played baseball against each other, competed in the neighborhood for the girls. It was the gangster boys, just the whole 9 yard. But there was a lot of discipline and stuff, placed into us. Oh my God. You see this? A system thing came up working on updates and took my screen.
Oh no.
Yeah, so
that means we're not taping?
So that means, we're gonna have to do this.
Okay.
In a minute. Start over and do this.
And it was getting so good.
In a minute. Well, that's because you good. So, but anyway, it looks like it's still going. So let's just keep going and see what we get.
Okay.
But anyway, it was like that. It was Boy Scouts. We played baseball for the police department. they would travel us around in the paddy wagon. We went to McDonald's one day and they opened the back of the paddy wagon and all the people at McDonald's ran to the other side because they thought we was
thinking they were criminals.
yeah, I figured we criminals. We go in there and get our sandwiches and go back. So and play basketball, but it was always organized stuff.
Okay.
Where people you know, was riding us, and it was a working class community, working class houses, you know, out there on 95th Street around Wallace.
So let me ask you this: what kind of student were you in school?
Mediocre, but because I was too smart to be in there, and they couldn't keep me busy, so I was a mediocre student. But like in 6th grade, you know, test 9.1 on the reading scores, in 8th grade, test 12.4. And fail in reading, you know, to where my mama got to come up, and you know how back then, you know, you had the social worker person in the schools,
sure.
and the minister, the principal, and the teachers knew me because we came from Ryder down to the new school Kipling, and a lot of the teachers that were at Ryder came down to Kipling. And in 6th grade, we went back to Ryder to finish up. But they was in the hallway telling my mama how they understood me and all that stuff. And my mama was a social worker at the time. She started to teach later. My mama was about to explode. My mama looked at them people and said, I don't need you to understand him. I need you to make him work. I'm up there, oh, Lord, mama, he's supposed to be my girl. But so that's kind of how, you know, I was, because I grew up in a house with 2 teachers. I had to read and stuff, you know, and you know, and like that.
What high school did you attend?
I went to Lindblom here in the city, but then after my sophomore year, I went out the city to boarding school. I went to St. Emma Military Academy, Powhatan, Virginia, 23139, embedded in my mind. And you know, it was a wonderful experience. This is like about 12 or 13 of my St. Emma brothers live in the Atlanta metro area, and they have a breakfast. I was going to the nursing home one day here. My phone rang. They was at breakfast. We played past the phone, and there was guys I hadn't seen in 30 years, you know, on that call. So it's like that. But that's kind of the gist of how I grew up, you know. Work for IBM, and you know, in my work life, and ran a division for an insurance company, and had a speakers bureau, and you know, things like that. So
okay, let's fast forward.
Yes.
Your relationship, your wife, your children. What happened there? When did that happen?
That happened all my life. I knew her all my life. She lived on 95th and Forest, and you know, over by my cousins. And when they would have parties, that's where I first saw her. You know, when they would have parties, be 9, 10, 11, and then we ran into each other in Atlanta. And I always told her I was gonna find her a good dude and stuff.
No, you didn't.
I did. And then the good dude came to me, and then we had 3 wonderful kids. And then, you know, life stuff, I messed up, right? And so then life stuff became something different. But we always was cool, stayed friends, even when they moved to Cali. When I go to Cali, she was from New Orleans. She would always have gumbo base in the refrigerator, in the freezer when I come, and make me some gumbo. Aaron won't give me up a recipe. Aaron will make me gumbo, but she won't give up a mama recipe. And you know,
so
that's okay.
How many
we had 3 children. We had Aaron, the elder. She's in Vegas right now. Her and her family are getting ready to come back to Chicago because her husband is the youngest in his family, and his parents are up and knocking on the 80s door. They got property, need some help. So they're moving back. Peyton got into one of the magnet schools up on the north side. She came here and tested. So they're pretty cool. Brandon, the movie dude, and his wife, they're moving to Atlanta.
Wow.
And You know, I sent him some schools and stuff. It was a lady had school when I was over at Hillside. She got a school that ranks pretty good in the Georgia school stuff. And, you know, my sister's got her friends on schools, and one of my other friends is on schools looking to suggest schools because they got to come and look for schools. And then my baby girl, the one that I showed you the picture, she's very happy out in California being herself. So we had 3 cool kids, yeah. And you know, like that. But like I said, I had screwed things up, but we stayed friends. But that was the experience with that was one of the things that shifted my life, because when she was getting ready to make her transition, Brandon called and said, if you want to see her, come now. And in the hospital, she caught me up on their 20 years in LA with tubes and stuff going down in her mouth, going just like that. Caught me up. I understood everything she was sharing with me, and that unconditional love that existed between us, regardless of anything else, was there at the forefront. And it shifted my life. You know, it really did. It healed me up good, because, you know, that was a thing with me, because I became what, you know, that thing that you hate the most, you know, a fuck up, because I fucked up, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. But
it takes a big person to be able to say that.
But see, and you know what I was going to tell you, I think that's been the difference, because I took responsibility for it, didn't know what to do, how to fix it, and couldn't. But you know, the man that I was, regardless of all that other stuff, somehow, you know, still showed forth in the end. God is good, man, because, you know,
all the time.
And I think that was the lesson, the unconditional love that exists regardless, because that was us. And I'm telling you, it shifted my life. Me and the kids, you know, we have our own relationship now, you know. She's still very much a part of it, but that's kind of how that part went.
Well, let me ask you this.
Miss open up the can of worms.
When did the Reverend title come in?
Well, you know, this is interesting, because I had moved down to Atlanta, because, you know, during the initial, you know, stuff, I was kind of like head case. So I went to Atlanta, you know, run home, right, to me. And one of my friends, we went to church over at Barbara King's.
Okay, I heard of her.
And we was going up the hill, and on the marquee, the speaker for the day's name was Michael Beckwith. So I look at Diane and say, man, my best friend when I was at Morehouse, name was Michael Beckwith. Me, Michael, and him, we were inseparable. So like, you know, when you go in the bathroom and wash your hands, you know, before church, I'm in the bathroom doing that, washing my hands, and I hear these footsteps coming down the highway. I've known them footsteps. I knew those footsteps because we was boys. And so when Michael walked into the bathroom, I said, Spike. He said, Bobby. Michael's a little dude, jump up in my arms. And so then I met Dr. King, and, you know, started hanging out to church. She liked my limo. I had a white limo. And, you know, she wanted me to be her driver. So, you know, I started doing that and taking classes and, you know, all those things. And, you know, and that led into it, which was, you know, really strange, because my great-great-grandfather was Father Quarles, who gave Morehouse space in his basement of his church over at Friendship when they moved up from Augusta, and the first classes of Spelman was held in the basement of his church. In fact, the little antebellum lady on all the Spelman literature is my great-great-grandma.
Amazing.
So that stuff is in my blood, unbeknownst to me, and, you know, here we go.
It's just by divine right, and I don't believe in coincidence.
Yeah.
All of this is a part of the plan, the divine plan for your life. Right?
Yeah, and it was, and, you know, but it's an interesting road, Reed. I mean, it's been an interesting road, you know, and, you know, you could probably tell I was somewhat of a rascal growing up, and there's really a whole lot of truth in that, you know. But you know, everything's good. You know, everything's good. So we go with that, and that's where we at now. Everything's good.
Okay. Wow. That is so amazing. I mean, you've had quite the life that many people would just, I'm not going to say die for. I hope they wouldn't die, but it's been quite a life. And you've known some really great people in your life.
And that's the thing I do have. But then when you look at our experience, our story, it's always great people in your life. Lerone Bennett was one of my daddy best friends. They was Morehouse brothers. They come over in the back and be, acting just like me and my boys and stuff, playing cards, talk about each other mama, stuff like that.
Yes.
Not that intense. And even guys down south, I'm saying, man, they act just like we act. Well, it's how we do, and the people. Maya Angelou was my mama's um little sister at Spelman. My mom was the big sister. Auntie Clemmy was the little sister. Maya was her cousin.
Amazing.
So we be up here having the picnics, and the family would be up there out at Auntie Clemmy's and stuff, and it'd be Maya and okay, hi, and da da da. We kids, we don't know who this is or
Wow,
who this
Rev.
becomes, and stuff like that. And me and Ayanla got tight. When she first started off, she was down at Barbara King's. We got to be friends, and
Okay.
Becky was my friend, and but these people that turned out to be something were just the people in my life. Real quick story: my roommate's dad did some amazing stuff, heart surgery stuff or kidney surgery stuff, something that I didn't learn about till years later. And they had an honoring thing for him up here. I'm like, Doc, you never said nothing. He said it's just a part of what we had to do as black doctors. We didn't get turned on to the latest stuff, so we had to create stuff,
Amazing.
for ourselves. And I say, but Doc, we come over your house, drink up your liquor, and listen to your stories. And he'd be like, yeah, but y'all don't drink the good stuff. I keep it in the cabinet. And he was a rascal, but all of these guys that were examples to me were just people living life who had to do things in the way we had to do things, being of another persuasion than those that got all the breaks.
But listen, Rev, listen. You grew up in an advantageous environment. You had all the right people around you. You have been blessed and fortunate. Think about people who are raised in an environment totally different from yours.
I don't have to
Who
think
don't,
about them. That's why I spent my life in the jail and doing the homeless ministry. In the jails and on the substance abuse ward. With the heroin addicts and the crackheads and those people in the streets.
so what you're doing is you're sharing your blessings. You're sharing your blessings with others.
But that's the way we do it, Rita. You know how we do it. Even what you and I are doing now. It's
Yeah,
blessing people when they hear
yeah,
this. It's giving us some gumption to take that one more step before
yeah,
they give up. And
yeah.
as it blesses them, then they bless somebody. We bless somebody. We bless back. And the circle keeps going and growing, and it's the way we've always done things. If you look at different cultural, um, um, I want to say experiences is not the word for it, but different cultural modalities and stuff. We always helping somebody out and stuff. Did my cousins come from Baltimore and live with us for 2 years? Yeah.
Mm.
You know, stuff got to, that's how we do. And it's what we do. And it's what's going to keep us. It's what's always kept us. That's what's going
Well,
to continue to keep us. So yeah. I try to read it. It don't
yeah,
always work all the time
yeah,
because a
yeah.
lot of times people don't want to hear it.
Ooh, come on, come on. So
And
let me hear your philosophy about trying to share your spiritual learning and your wealth with everyone, and then you have those who have a deaf ear that you can't seem to reach. What do you say to that?
there's a scripture, it talks about um, the poor shall always be among us, which doesn't necessarily mean money poor, but can
Hmm.
mean spiritually and consciously poor.
Yes.
It can mean poor in their ideas about themselves and all of those things. And
Yes.
you want to know something really, divinely orchestrated, that was one of the first scriptures the spirit kept in front of me
Mm.
as I walked this thing, because I was in such of a place I couldn't imagine someone not wanting to build their spiritual man and woman, because
Come
that's
on
where the
now.
answer is. I couldn't imagine it. But that scripture was kept in front of me until I understood that okay, it's gonna be some people you can't reach. And guess what, young spiritual traveler doing what you're trying to do, you gonna have to be okay with it.
Mm. Just let
So
go. Do what you can do, and then you let go and let God. You got to be still.
we'll see, okay, here we go out into my outer space cosmic self.
Come on.
Let go and let God is a step too many for me.
Mm.
Revelation teaches never to pick it up in the first place. I'm a
Woo.
revelation scholar. I do
All right.
believe never to pick it up in the first place because it's not yours.
Ooh, it's not
Jesus
yours.
said, Jesus say, let the filthy be filthy, let the dirty be dirty, let the holy be holy, let the righteous be righteous. For I am coming and my reward is with me to give to them according to their works. You see,
Come on.
I wish I could get my stuff according to the works you done. I'd be blessed richly.
Oh,
But no, I get
stop it.
rascal blessings, but they just as good. But no, but that scripture there, I read it to a friend of mine. I said, what it means? She said, leave these people alone, because she get tired of us sometimes. She's a minister, got one of them big old hearts about, she was the head of Extend the Hand Ministry, the homeless ministry. Remember Reverend Vine Matisse Jackson? She got heart about big as 10 universes and stuff. And, but you can't get them all. And you just
Okay,
got to be
so
okay.
so what do? You just what?
You just do what you could do, no more, no less. Give what you got, no more, no less. Don't leave them out. You give what you got. I was talking to a friend of mine out east yesterday and talk about the little prophet dude that stayed naked on one side, told everybody everything. They didn't listen to him, walked all over me, turned naked on the other side and
Mm.
walked all over him, but he was giving them the word of the Lord. I said, I ain't gonna be naked and stuff laying in the street. I'm a little bit cool still. But I'm gonna tell them, and it's kind of their responsibility after a point.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? It's kind of their responsibility to open up and want to. It's just like being on these substance abuse wards. People who want to get up from up under that stuff, they do a good job at trying to get up
That's
under
true.
it. It was some programs when I was walking through that part of my life where you go there for 30 days instead of being locked up. But if you mess up, you go to the lockup. And
Yes.
people was doing that, but they wasn't about trying to be getting clean and that kind of stuff. They were just trying to be like not going to prison and going to jail. But the
Mm.
people who want to get out from up under it, I believe you can. You just have to refocus your life. It's an emptiness that most people try to fill on that tip. So you got to have something to feel it. Hopefully, a little bit of God and uplifting laughter and stuff, and a couple of seeds so that you can be successful in what you're doing or help. You know.
So the role you play and this journey that you're on, what is your modus operandi? What keeps you going every day? What do you wake up saying to yourself? How do you keep it moving and stay motivated?
I'll be like my conversation yesterday with my Reverend shaman friend. It's like, man, you know, what will unfold today? Because we were sharing how we did not realize what our yes to God encompassed. It encompasses a whole lot of stuff. He was sharing with me the part nobody tells you about. I said, well, they can't tell you about it because they don't know it, because it's that individual walk stuff with yourself too as we perform the stuff. And the like you said, what keeps me going and things like that is I understand my role in what I do. I bring comfort into the midst of some very difficult situations, and I am fulfilled by being able to do that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, not really, because you get some stuff, man. You know, I was telling my boy about a little guy across the street got shot 6 times going to see his girlfriend to keep us in the neighborhood. You know, they decided he didn't need to be there. He tried to hang on, but he couldn't. You know, and I'm seeing his mama. I see his mama. I'm out at the hospital. I see his mama downstairs. And I said, what you doing? She said, honey, upstairs, he been shot. So I turned right back around and went up to ICU because I get myself in ICUs, you know, even when it's a little bit. I put it on. I say, you know, I got to go. But anyway, he passed. We doing this funeral.
Oh, my God.
And his grandma walk up there, take a look at her baby in the casket, and has a heart attack and dies right there.
You're not making this up.
No, man, I ain't making this up, man. I went immediately home. I left, went home immediately, had a fit, told God, nowhere in my 294-page deal with you did you ever tell me I had to see something like this. And they live across the street from me, and they're going to be coming over here looking for an answer when they get back.
Oh, my God.
Right, I'm done. I went to sleep. And so, you know, it was summertime, and all the funerals I done, I knew the sound of the funeral car doors closing, that big thump when they closed. So when I heard that door close across the street, I had the window open. I was up, and I came downstairs and I had something to tell them then, but that was something else. Henry Hardy did that funeral, did the grandma funeral, you know, rubbing that casket, talking about collateral damage, you know, the damage that happens, you know, along with this other stupid stuff, and you know, that happens. And it was just a thing, you know, and you know.
Oh my God. You can never prepare for that.
Huh?
You can never prepare for that.
Yeah, and that's the stuff that my friend and I were sharing yesterday about. Nobody could tell you these things that God prepares for you to walk through so that you could be prepared to help somebody. You know, and I get all the stuff. I get a lot of the heavy duty stuff across my plate, but I've been equipped to handle it, so it's not that bad.
Well, you got to leave us with some bright and cheerful words.
Leave you with some bright and cheerful words. Well, I enjoy doing this with you. I think every once in a while you're gonna do this with me, okay? And catch the people up on me. Would you do that with me?
I sure will.
That'd be your role.
Yes, okay, definitely.
Well, you could do that. Well, the bright and cheery thing is, listen, it's all about how you look at yourself, how
Mm,
you treat yourself,
mm,
how you love you.
mm.
You know, because that's the thing, the forgiveness thing. You know, everybody forgave me because I ain't mean no harm. I just got caught up.
Okay.
But the hardest forgiving me was me because you know I told you I don't like mess ups. Never had like them as people around me, and then here you become one. So I loathed
Mhm,
myself for a long time, you know,
mm.
honestly, and you know, and worked through it by doing what I thought was helping other people and stuff,
Yeah.
and that did work me through. So, you know, do the best you can. Always wrap everything in love, all of
Amen.
it, because it'll lead you to the answer. Which, if you have a couple of answers you think and you can't tell, the answer that does the best for the most is always the right answer.
Wow.
So I thank you and hug you for being who you are all the time and for doing this for us today. Everybody, you know, yay, Jaretha, and subscribe. Gospel of
Everybody.
Robert, capital GOSPELOF, capital ROBERT. Put the @ there. Subscribe on YouTube so you could get some of this good stuff. And until the next time, read to tell the people bye.
Bye, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Until the next time, because she's gonna come back and do this every once in a while, catch y'all up on what I'm up to. Y'all take
Yes.
care and God bless.